Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RVing in New England. I'm Bob Zagami with NERVDA, and we'll have John DePietro join us here real soon. And we have a special show tonight. We have Toby O'Rourke, president of KOA. Hi, John. How you doing?
Hey, Bob. Good evening. I'm looking forward to our show tonight. It's always nice
should be a great one.
From our industry in with us.
Yep. Not too much on the calendar for our dealers this week. We get the spectacular September savings videos going on, so we got some of those, and we'll be posting some of the open houses. But we got a busy week ahead of us next week.
We certainly do. We're heading west, about 1,000 miles west out to Elkhart, and this time next week we'll be doing our show from there.
That's right, somewhere along the way.
We don't know where.
Yeah, we don't know where.
We might be in the middle of.
Right.
Who knows?
I'm going to bring Toby up. We want to really maximize the time that we. Good evening, Toby.
Hi. Welcome. Good evening. Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're excited about having KOA on. I apologize. John and I would have worn our KOA shirts, but we couldn't find them, so we had to wear our RVing in New England shirts.
Well, red coordinates nicely with yellow, so I think we're okay.
That is true.
I don't think we have any, Bob. Did you get one? I didn't get one yet.
I don't think I got one. We'll have to talk to Mike about that.
Yeah.
We got some friends tuning in there, Toby.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, yep. There's our friends out in Virginia. Hi, Don.
Yes.
Yeah, they're in the Charlottesville KOA, in fact, waiting to see when they can go home because they live in North Carolina, and thoughts and prayers are with the people down there. I mean, it's just a terrible tragedy, and hopefully they can get home soon.
I hope so. Yeah, Mark and Don have been great partners of ours for a long time, so
sure
nice to see them. Yeah.
Hey, Toby.
Go ahead, John.
Before we get much further in the broadcast, I have 2 words for you.
Yes?
Go Irish.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're doing great this year. Number 8. Number 8.
You beat me to it. Now, do you follow the football team, Toby?
I do. That's why I went to school there primarily, and then big fan ever since I was a little girl. Did I play football?
Did you play football?
No, I didn't. I went to every game, though.
Okay, you and John have a connection at Notre Dame.
Oh, yes?
I went to both high school and college with Brian Kelly.
Oh, did you really?
But he's quick to point out we didn't go during the same years.
Oh, yeah, sure. We're having a great season. We're very excited.
You have a promotional marketing opportunity there just by sponsoring their world's largest campground that they have every other Saturday in South.
That's a great point. We could do something, I'm sure, with hang tags or something.
I'm telling you, I have never seen a college scene. I've been to Penn State and Syracuse and et cetera, and I have never seen a larger camping area. People tell me that they start showing up there on Wednesdays.
Oh, yeah. It's a special place for sure.
Yep.
Okay, we got one of our regulars is joining us, Jerry Plant, and he's out in Nebraska this week, and he just stayed at the Rapid City KOA last week and said it was great.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Of course it was.
Like to hear that.
Yeah, and I guess Don and Mark are in 2 other rooms. Mark, do you want to say hello to Toby also? We can get that. They're hoping their internet connection stays live. Toby, tell us a little bit about your background. I know you joined them in 2011, and of course, John and I know you through the RV industry, but maybe some of the folks out there don't know you, and maybe there's some that don't even know KOA, or like can't believe that.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope that's not the case. But in terms of me, I'm from Montana. I grew up, and that's where KOA is headquartered. A lot of people might know that. KOA was founded here 56 years ago, and that's where our headquarters still is. So I'm talking to you from Billings, Montana today here at our offices. But I grew up here, and I, like we just talked about, went to Notre Dame after graduation, high school graduation. And then my career actually started out in the IT industry, software development and some business consulting. And then I went to graduate school at Northwestern and moved into marketing. And I was mainly marketing food products, places in Chicago and in Denver. And at that time, I was starting to get an itch of wanting to relocate back to Montana. And I had really focused my career in digital marketing specifically, and that's what KOA was hiring for in 2011, a director of digital marketing. So I found my way to that position, and it's been, really great ever since. It's been a nice combination of all my experience and now coming together in my new position even more so.
Toby, coming out of the consumer packaged goods industry, you've probably been to FMI, right? If you're in Chicago in that business, with the Food Marketing Institute.
I actually have not been to FMI. I went to Northwestern and got my degree there in marketing, and then went into brand management at Sara Lee, and I never did anything at FMI. But
the only reason I say that is because it just shows that the skills that you take from one industry are compatible. And you look at what Winnebago did, where they hired a CEO from out of the industry, and everybody said, oh, it's never going to work. But I think the RV industry has been so closed-minded with thinking who can make it, that they've been reluctant to bring people from out of the fold into the fold, when in fact they might bring some new ideas that just might work.
Yeah, that's a way we look at hiring. We obviously promote from within, but we also hire externally, and some of our recent hires have been from different industries. And I think new blood's healthy, helps us think differently and apply learnings from different categories to our business. So we'd like to have a good mix of it. Our CEO's been here 37 years, and then I'm coming in with different experience, and together we can make a really good team and attack the company differently.
Yep, and our association with KOA goes back to Jim Rogers. We did several videos with Jim, and of course Jim revolutionized it too, because he came from the indoor hospitality industry, and he recognized the demand for much better service and support and product delivery when he assumed the role at KOA. You want to talk about that a little bit? I know you probably are familiar with his background there, but the differences between the indoor-outdoor hospitality.
Right. I think Jim really did a lot to revolutionize our business. He brought in the yellow. He brought in the focus on customer service. He brought in measurements around customer service. And it was a real big orientation from the operations of the campground to the guest. And of course, he has a marketing background as well, which I think helped accelerated our work in marketing, because we like to think of ourselves as a marketing company. We're not just a camping company. We really are a marketing company, among other things. And I think Jim's the one that really catapulted us that direction. And, we've been having great years the past few years. And a lot of that, I think, is still overflow of the effects we're feeling now of Jim Rogers' presence many years ago, for sure.
Well, it was a strong foundation. But again, you tend to find ways to grow and improve your business every year. Talk a little bit about the makeup of the KOA campgrounds. I know you went through the rebranding. I can probably bring up your picture there that does that. Talk a little bit about how you've rebranded the campgrounds and what it means to today's campground consumers.
And why you did it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this has been something that's been talked about at KOA for 20 years even. It goes back that far. We have a really large system. We have over 500 campgrounds in the US and Canada. And we felt it was important to start to provide some definition of the experience you would find at every campground for the consumer. So better set the expectations, because all of our campgrounds are not cookie cutter operations. They're all very different from each other. And we wanted a way to talk about that diversity in our system. So we introduced the KOA family of campgrounds about 5 years ago, and it separates the brand into 3 segments, similar to what you might see in the hotel sector. But we have KOA Journeys, which are all built around convenience for the traveling camper. So they're often located near highways, byways in North America, but they're great pull-through sites, for example. Night registration, robust registration, RV supplies in your store, everything oriented for that person who may be traveling. And then we've got the KOA Holiday, which is probably it's the bulk of our system, the more traditional KOA of today. And we're going to see different site types there. In addition to our premium tent sites and pull-through RV sites, you're going to see patio RV sites. That's something we've put a lot of innovation and energy into in recent years, as well as deluxe cabins and accommodation offerings. And then recreation offerings starting to come in at the holiday level. And then our KOA resorts, we have about 20 KOA resorts now across the country. And it's similar to a holiday. It's got the multiple types of site types. It has a lot more robust recreation offerings and also has food service. It was built around that idea of a destination that you don't have to leave the campground if you don't want to. But this is not a good, better, best system. Quality is still maintained across all 3 types. It's all designed to just level set the experience that you would find at the KOA.
Hey, Toby, one of the key things that Bob and I bring to the RV industry is that we're both active RVers. I have one that moves. Bob has a park model. but I've stayed in a wide variety of campgrounds, and I think everyone would agree that there is no consistency in non-branded campgrounds. And I mean not only just in the size of them with the number of sites that they have, but in the customer service, in the cleanliness of the bathrooms, in the check-in process of the hours, et cetera, et cetera. When you look at the North American Camping Report and you see the 6 million new households in just the last 4.5 years, you must be chomping at the bit, because the thing that you do provide is consistency. And I'm a little bit older than I think I'm a little older than you, but I remember
You think?
Holiday Inn. I know I'm younger than Bob, so anyway. But Holiday Inn used to have a slogan: "The best surprise is no surprise." And if you Google on YouTube, if you go to YouTube and push that in, it shows you the commercial. You've got like a golden opportunity to reach the new people because of the familiarity with the brand, but the greater consistency that you will get with a KOA than a non-branded product. And I don't know if that's ever been brought up in your planning meetings or whatever.
Well, sure, consistency is discussed quite a bit, but the thing is we're definitely not consistent. And I think that's what's special about our system, is every campground is very unique. These are individual business operators that add their own flavor to the campground. But there are certain things that every KOA has that the consumer can come to expect. And we can deliver that level of consistency through our camp stores, through our playgrounds, for example, through our laundry, through our bathrooms. And then we require a level of quality on our parks that we have quality assurance teams that go out and check that, so we can
anonymously
deliver that. No, actually, we don't do anonymous. We may have at one time, but we don't do anonymous anymore. We actually have good relationships with our teams that go out and visit their parks every year and do their quality inspections. But then I think there's also a level of consistency in our service. And I would like to hope that there is a level of consistency. We spend a lot of time around what it means to be in yellow and what that service delivery looks like. So while there's a lot of individual features on a park that may differ from one to the other, there was a headline in the Chicago Tribune a few years ago that said we're the McDonald's of camping. And I take a lot of pride in that, because people do say, when you come to a campground at KOA, you know what you're going to get. And there's a level of security in that.
Right.
Right. It may look a little different. Right.
Yeah, I put that note up there because Tad Travis, who's joined us tonight, said, "Can we ask questions?" Yes, you may ask questions. Sometimes we don't get to all of them. We try to see them in the comments and we'll post them. Just keep them polite and keep politics out of it, and we won't take them down off the screen.
You can see the consistency comments coming in right there with consistency. And it's probably the most important part of a brand. When you're going into a McDonald's, you know what you're going to get.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what you're going to get.
Is another fan, one of our regular listeners, Walt is going to be the incoming president of the Massachusetts State Director for the Good Sam organization. And he's been to Rapid City, Cody, Herkimer, Saco, and Mystic KOA. Total 100 nights. I guess I'd call you a good customer, Walter.
Yeah. But building off your consistency comment, part of with the program of our segmentation, which we call brand positioning, there is different requirements for each position. So through that program, we're also able to deliver another level of consistency. So you know exactly what to expect you can find at those campgrounds. And then there's a lot more that the owner adds to that experience, but there is a base level of consistency.
Well, one of the things that is noticeable also, sometimes when you go to a private campground, and we like all of our campgrounds, we need every different kind. But sometimes there's a work camper or somebody else that's minding the store. When you're at a KOA, I'll tell you, every time I've been to a KOA, you meet the owners. The owners are right there working with everybody else. And I think that is one of the hallmarks that they're unsung heroes. But, the guy behind the desk or the woman taking the order, they're likely to be the owner.
Yeah, absolutely. The owners and the managers of our parks are definitely the lifeblood of this brand. It doesn't matter what we're doing here from a marketing perspective and pushing the brand out. It all happens on the campground. That's all delivered through our owners and managers. And we do have a very vibrant and thriving work camper workforce, But to your point, those owners and managers are very, very involved in the day-to-day operations.
Yeah, I include the KOA work camper program in my seminars at the shows. One of the other things that they're famous for, as Ms. Dawn likes to point out, because she travels with 3 dogs, but you've got some of the best dog parks in the world in your campgrounds. And we all know that RVers travel with pets.
Absolutely. Yeah, all of our research shows that most people, or a majority of people, are traveling with some form of pet. And we take a lot of pride in our Camp Canine pet parks that are at all of our branded KOAs. We've got requirements about how big they have to be and what the fence has to be like. Then some take it to another level. They may have agility equipment, or they may have an even larger space. I just saw the most beautiful one in our system at Cape May KOA in New Jersey. And it was just gorgeous because they had integrated the trees and the forest into this very, very large dog park. But some of our owners take a lot of pride in pets. All pets are always welcome at a KOA. And we now even have pet sites developing. So there's RV sites happening that are with fenced in space that the dog can stay in, and with even some grass for the dog. And we have cabins that are all about pets as well, a couple across the system. So we're even taking it further than just the dog park and bringing that to the inside experience as well.
Hey, Toby, you brought up a very important word there that I want to talk to you about. With all the new people in the metro areas that are getting into camping with a K, they might not own RVs, and you're kind of solving that issue for them by having the cabins. And I was at a nationally known campground this weekend, and they put in several cabins.
I bet.
But it seems as though you guys were kind of the leader in, the cabins that looked like they were made specially for you. How big is the cabin aspect of the business? And are you going ahead with linens and that type of thing for the future?
Sure. Yeah. Cabins have been a big part of our business for 20, 30 years. I think you're talking about the camping cabins. They're essentially covered tents, and they're very consistent. You'd see those at most KOA campgrounds. I still have camping cabins. They're very, very popular. In fact, that's my kids' favorite thing to stay in, is the camping cabins. They love that experience. It feels really rustic and like you're camping. And then we introduced the deluxe cabins several years ago, and that has been huge growth for us. To your point, 11% growth every year that we've had these cabins and putting them in. And those are dotting the map all over our parks. And these are much more sophisticated accommodation units. They always have a bathroom. Some have kitchens, most have kitchens, dining areas, TVs. And to your point on the beds, I would say upwards of 3/4 of our system is putting the linens on the beds. We think that's very important for the customer experience. We leave that at the discretion of the owner. Sometimes it's not feasible for them to do with their operations, but the majority of our campgrounds do have the linens on the bed. And then we display that information on KOA.com so you know what to expect when you get to that cabin. But I do think this has been a huge growth market for us in reaching new people. And it's maybe not have been people that would have traditionally thought of themselves as campers, and this is reaching a new market, and specifically families. And it's a great place for, we talk to mom when we market the cabins, a great place for mom to come and know her kids are going to have this great experience. It's be comfortable for the whole family. And we always talk about the inside, the bathroom, the kitchen, but it's really about the outside. You're bringing them to the campground. You could get the same experience in a hotel, but you're at a campground and you've got a campfire experience right outside.
Let me
Don't steal my thunder. Don't steal
what you just said, and I think Bob knows what I'm going to say. Again, this weekend I was covering a Good Sam event, and it was at another campground, and Walter will know what I'm talking about here. But I had 2 granddaughters and a grandson with me that are 8, 7, and 5 years old, and we had previously gone to another Good Sam event in May where the girls had met another girl their age. So this past weekend, as soon as we got there, they said, I want to go to the playground. When they got to the playground, they ran into that same girl.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife, I feel so great now because I don't have to watch them. And Bob said, unlike a hotel, that there is a high degree of confidence from the parental level that your kids are going to be safe within the confines of the campground, that you would not say if it was a 5-star hotel in any city USA, you're not going to let that kid down at the pool by themselves. But at a campground,
yeah,
nope.
I completely agree. I've got a 7 or an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. Been on campgrounds ever since they were born, and I feel high level of confidence in letting them ride their bikes around the campground, play on the playground with other kids. You know, I think it was coined many, many, many years ago that a campground's like the last small towns in America. And I grew up in a town of 700 people, so I understand what that's about. You know everybody. You can walk around.
That was my high school class.
Yeah, I had 19. But to the point is, maybe at a campground, you would go to the RV next to you and you might ask for a beer or, you know, start up discussion. And you don't see that happening. You don't knock on people's door at the hotel. It's a really special place. And, you know, thinking about that and kids, Halloween has been such a big thing for us on campgrounds in recent years. And a lot of our campgrounds are doing multiple weekends of trick-or-treating events. And because I know from even my neighborhood, people aren't getting their kids out in neighborhoods to trick-or-treat near as much anymore, but it's a really great thing to do on a campground. So
that's true. I want to just take a minute and throw that up there. Chad, I got your question on there, but it's really lengthy. So Chad wants to travel from Boston 2 weeks in November, first time over 2 days. Email me your complete question. I think he's talking about going from Boston. And John and I are in Boston, Tad. I don't know if you know that, but I'll email me with your contact information. I'll give you a call and talk to you about the trip from Boston to Florida. He said, should I not attempt to do this within 14 days? Well, it depends on how you like to travel. So yeah.
I haven't seen your question, but what I would suggest, if you're interested in staying at KOAs, on our website, we have a trip planner. Put in point A, point B. It'll map you a route and it'll tell you the KOAs along the way. And that's it. And another good site for that is Road Trippers. We work with roadtrippers.com. It's going to show you all the things to do along the way and campgrounds to stay at. So it might be a good thing for you to check out for planning your trip.
Well, let's spend a couple of minutes on that, Toby, because in terms of our industry, you probably have one of the easiest, most, and I'm not saying that because you're our guest tonight, because John and I, you know, we don't mind insulting people when it's required, but you have one of the best websites and truly responsive for mobile devices, tablets, computers. Talk a little bit about that, what went behind it, and of course that was your digital marketing background. Yeah. Why that's so important to KOA, but more importantly, why it's important to the campers.
Yeah, we are at our core a digital marketing company. Everything we do is intended to drive people back to that website so they can make reservations. And you're right, we did make sure that it was responsive so it can scale across multiple devices. We also have a mobile app, which has over 1 million downloads and in active use on campgrounds. Engaging with people in a digital format is very, very important to us, to your point. And our reservations have grown dramatically. Over 46% of our advanced reservations are made through our mobile device. And that's been a 12, 14 point increase.
So people are making the reservation on the move. They're not necessarily planning it out 2 weeks in advance at home on their laptop.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke. I meant on our website that's made. But we have seen almost triple-digit increases in the amount of people making reservations on the app or in a mobile device. That mobile really is where it's at right now. So we kind of employ a mobile-first strategy. So we're constantly working to add features to our website to improve the experience and the conversion rates for reservations. And we really try to take it mobile first. How's it going to work in mobile? Because that's where we know the majority of people are going to look at the campgrounds. They may go back to their website later or their computer later and make that reservation, but they're looking at it first on mobile. And the majority of our emails are read on mobile devices as well.
Toby, when you came in 2011 as Director of Digital Marketing, what were the new things that you brought to the program, and how have they flourished up until time right now?
Sure. We had KOA.com, predates me for sure. KOA.com has been here for a long time, but me, along with the current Director of Digital Marketing, Cole Reinhardt, who I hired shortly after I started here, really started, like I was saying, implementing a lot of those e-commerce best practices to continue to evolve the site. Some of the new thing he's added to the site are even personalization. We can know where you're coming from. If you've been to KOA.com before, we're going to show you different imagery and different messaging. Or if we know what website you clicked through, we're able to customize that experience. That's just an example of some of the more innovative things that he's been doing lately. But when I came, let me see, 7 years ago. We were just working on the mobile website at the time. And then shortly thereafter, we launched the mobile app. So that was new after I came here. And also digital marketing. When I say digital marketing, I'm talking about search engine marketing ads. If you go into Google, for example, search on KOA and the ads you see on the sidebar up above, we started investing heavily in digital advertising. And that was what my background was prior to KOA, and I felt was very, very important. And that everything there drives to our website and increases our reservations. And we've got a really great set of agencies that work for us. Either they're building the website or they're executing that digital marketing strategy. And I think that's been a huge pivot change for how we reach people at KOA.
Have you been able to capture any of the data that shows the demographics of who's using electronic media versus the phone call?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's hard for us to benchmark against the phone call, but we know everything about people that come to our website through, just implementing Google Analytics onto our website. We can read everything about traffic, where they're coming from, all sorts of details about who they are. And sometimes you can get to a level of detail even on male, female, and ages, depending on the source of data information. But we do know quite a bit about our audience. And then we have a robust email marketing database of over 1 million households. That's just from our camper data. And we know a lot about those people because when they make reservations, they tell us where they're from and who they're camping with and what kind of rig they're in. And that allows us to customize our messages on email as well to those people to make it more relevant to them.
Can we jump back to the cabins for just a minute? Jerry brings up a good point here. The cabins are a wonderful way to get people introduced to camping. And I often suggest this in my seminars also, that if you really want to get one of your friends interested in RVing, well, they're not going to just run out and spend 10, 20, 30, or $300,000 on an RV. Yeah. Schedule a weekend in a campground and rent a cabin. Now, there are some that will say, and justifiably so, every time you build a cabin, you take away a transient campsite. So how do you offset that in terms of your programs looking into the future? Because the camping cabins, according to a North American study, were 1/4 among the new campers in 2017. Yep. 1/4 of them camped in the cabin. So I like the cabins because I can bring other people to the campground. I can direct people. And we often do that because one of the interesting statistics that we have with our seminars at the Boston show, we do about 9 during the show over 3 days. We always ask the people in the audience, how many people own an RV? Now, we always get about 100 people, standing room only. How many people own an RV? Mm-hmm. And the seminar is titled Introduction to RVs and the RV Lifestyle. And it is geared towards the newcomers and the new people that we're drawing into the industry. So we say, how many own an RV? And only 1 or 2 own an RV.
Oh, really?
But 3 years ago, John said, hey, why don't you ask this question? And it was a great question, and we added it right away. He says, ask them how many are attending their first RV show. Because for years in this industry, we thought we saw the same people year in and year out, that there was only this finite group of people that went RVing, and anybody else on the outside never had anything to do with it. The last 3 years, 50% of my audience in every seminar was attending their first RV show.
That's great. That's great.
So these are the people that we want to say, hey, go out and rent a cabin.
Right.
John, tell the story. You were down at Mystic. Right. Tell the story about the woman there.
Probably 4 or 5 years ago, but we were at the playground. And by the way, those bounce pillows are great, but I think I think I violate the weight limit on those, so I can't go.
Nah, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he does.
Hey, Bob, come on now. The story was, the parents come and our kids, this was probably 5 years ago, so the kids might have been, obviously 4 or 5 years younger. So we were watching them a little bit more, and we're sitting at the playground, and the person next to us had a child there as well, and I said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "We're from Manhattan." And I said, "Well, you probably don't have an RV." She said, "Here's what we do. We take Amtrak from New York City to New London, The campground picks them up there.
Right.
They have their Friday, Saturday night there, and then on Sunday the campground brings them back to the Amtrak station.
Yeah,
so I think the thing that Bob is saying, the number of new people that want the camping experience,
right,
is big. But the other thing that Bob and I have talked about, and we've talked about it with campground owners, and we've talked about it with RV executives, there is virtually no business working relationship between the place that you buy stuff to go camping and the place that you go camping. And it just seems crazy, because why have an RV if you're not going to use a campground?
right.
And why shouldn't campground owners be that's not the right word, but why not even put RVs at campgrounds where they might have a relationship with a retailer to
Yeah, that's a great idea. We try to encourage partnerships between our campgrounds and dealers in their local area, and some do it very, very well. Cross marketing or events. I am bringing rigs out to campgrounds is a great idea. We try to pair people up and then let those business owners build a relationship and see how they can promote each other. Because you're right, it naturally makes sense.
Well, I think we do that particularly well in New England, and not that people in the other parts of the country don't, but we are in constant communication. We have 5 state campground associations. Rhode Island is too small. It doesn't have it. And we talk to them on a regular basis, and we speak at their annual conference every year. And we're willing to take the bullets. One year we did a kind of an open session and said, tell us what you like about our dealers and what you don't like. And it was enlightening, because we knew right away that we had to correct the communications problems. You can't sell an RV and then have the person go to a campground and then have it break down, and they expect the campground owner to fix it, or they expect the campground owner to pick up the phone and call somebody. So whether or not people who buy our RVs have a good experience is dependent upon the campground, because many of these people, and to your point earlier, we have all these new people going out there. They're buying units. The dealers are, in a hurry to get the PDIs out there. They may not be getting the right education. That's why we always refer them to Mark and Don especially with the online streaming program now, but their books and their DVDs. Right. We need to educate these people. We just can't assume that somebody that goes out and buys an RV or a trailer is going to show up at the campground and know everything that they're supposed to know.
No, absolutely not. And I think that's one benefit of camping at a KOA campground is you're going to have staff there that can help. And I know there's a lot of great programs out there. Like we partner with Route 66 Tech 24 program that always allows that person, if somebody to call, to ask questions, because you're right. They have questions. They don't know what to do. RVs break down. That's just the reality of the thing. And I do think that it's just a natural marriage between the dealer and the campground. And the more we can foster that, the better for everybody.
What Bob mentioned, one of that seminar, I think, Bob, you're referring to the one we did up in New Hampshire, where we moderated. And we had campground owners that were very, very upset with the fact that the unit broke down at their place, and they got blamed for it.
Oh, I'm sure that happens. Right.
They got blamed for leaky roofs, but everybody knows RVs don't leak. But they got blamed as the campground owner, and it's kind of crazy. And coming from both a camper's perspective as well as an RVer, I think the industry would be much better served if there was a better working relationship. Even to the point, Bob, where when we went to the RV Power Breakfast out in Elkhart, when Jim Rogers spoke the first or second year, and he's bringing up stats on the National Camping Report, North American Camping Report that was done then. And he's asking questions like, what percentage of the people camp? What percentage of the people are new? What percentage of, nobody in the audience raised their hand. And they're the people that make these things.
Sure. Yeah. I think we're really forging great relationships with RVIA and RVDA right now. My relationship with the leaders of those organizations has never been better. We're integrating ways we can work at each other's shows. I have been at the Power Breakfast the past couple of years and sharing data, and I feel like we're getting over that hump. I think that there is a good partnership with our organization and RVIC, and those organizations, I think we can continue to improve it.
Yeah, and you're going to be, I was talking to Liz Crawford earlier today, because our viewers don't know who Liz Crawford is, but I know you're going to be an integral part of the new RVX experience out in Salt Lake City also. Here's Bonnie. I don't think Bonnie's a regular, but welcome, Bonnie. And Bonnie says, when we travel, we choose KOA often because we know the quality and cleanliness of the KOAs. It's a peace of mind when we travel. A current theme throughout the evening. And Mike Perry's with us tonight. Mike is our rep for Dealer Resources Group, and he's with our dealers in our campgrounds a lot and does open houses there. Barbara Smith is in with us tonight from Weymouth, Mass. And Walter says hello from Round Rock, Texas tonight.
All over.
They really are.
Walter must have flown down there, because I was just with Walter 2 days ago. He must have flown.
Yeah, he did. Well, guess who joined us tonight? Look at this. We should be honored here tonight.
Oh,
our friend Greg Gerber.
Yeah, I speak with Greg a couple times a year. It's really fun to always catch up and be on his show as well.
Great guy. Yeah, we should bring him back on, even though he's not doing the newsletter anymore. In fact, John and I are having dinner with him Sunday night on our way out to Elkhart for next week. What can people look for? Mike Gast, who I know is behind the controls over there tonight, was kind enough to send us just a tremendous selection of photography from your campgrounds, and I was just blown away at the quality, number one, but the variety of campgrounds and things that you have in them. What would you like to tell us about the future of KOA?
Well, we're actually working on a big project right now, defining what camping looks like, what KOA looks like in the future. And we're getting everyone across our company in different disciplines to put a lot of time and thought leadership and research into that. So we're really excited about that. But I think technology is going to continue to be a big deal for our company. It integrates across everything we do. We have a software management system that our parks use to manage their business. I already talked about our website and our mobile app. We're looking at ways we can further communicate with campers, interact with campers when they're on site or when they're on their way to the campground. So technology is going to play a big role. So that's definitely part of our growth plan. Accommodations, I think, will continue to be a growth area for us, as we just mentioned, and innovation in RV sites. So you saw some pictures there of our patios. Those patios are something, we put definition behind, and those apply to our RV sites. There you go. That's a great picture. As well as our cabins and our tent sites. We also have a lot of, innovation around premium tent sites. And so we put a lot of work into that, as well as recreation space. We've been doing a lot of new projects lately. We know people camp in groups. We know people, when they camp at a private campground, they like to socialize, kind of what we were talking about earlier. We've been doing a lot of work on recreational space. All those things I see in our future, and we're excited to see what else could even be out there for us. But those are things our teams are focused on right now.
Well, let's talk about that. The industry has really taken a gigantic step forward in terms of diversity. We're getting a tremendous Asian population and African American and Black people. Those numbers in your North American Camping Report were really very high. So our Go RVing and our outreach programs, and that's two completely different markets that we can bring into the industry and into the campgrounds themselves. And what do you see on that for KOA?
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers, we're talking about is the North American Camping Report. That's research we've run every year for the past 4 or 5 years. And every year, the percentage of diverse campers is growing, non-Caucasian campers. In fact, last year, almost 50% of all new campers were in a minority demographic. So huge numbers rising in the Asian population, as you mentioned, as well as Hispanic and African American. And specifically in the RV market, the African American group is where a lot of that growth is. They're much more, from our research, much more likely to try an RV, have tried it, and 40% did camp in an RV. They want to purchase RVs. So I view that as a very key demographic for the future of the RV industry. But we're definitely seeing that on our campgrounds. We applaud it. We embrace it. We work with a lot of influencer outreach groups, from everything from Outdoor Afro to Latino Outdoors. And we, we're just embracing it. It's such a great new evolution for camping, and we're really excited to see this happen.
Well, you mentioned earlier several times, a couple times, and we've done so also, the North American Camping Report. And John mentioned Jim being out there at the Power Breakfast and yourself. KOA has done such a great service for the industry because you are very willing to share all of this data, all of this information. So even though we talk about KOA and you are the largest branded campground franchise company out there, everything we talk about applies to every other campground out there, whether you're a private campground with 50 sites in Maine or in the middle of a desert somewhere out in Nevada. But your willingness to do that, and I think that speaks volumes for the corporation, but it certainly accelerates the growth and the potential of these other campgrounds when they look at the lead that you have, but you back it up with data. So it's not just a nice yellow shirt out there.
Right.
That North American Campground Report is done by Scott Baer up in Maine. I see Scott every once in a while, and he just does a tremendous job for you on that report. And talk about the reasoning for that. Sometimes people think, well, that's crazy, you're sharing all your secrets. No. If you want to rise the boats in the sea,
right,
share this information. And I think that individually, and to your point earlier, the individual silos of the RV industry and outdoor hospitality do very well. You've done a lot, and I give KOA credit, Jim and you and Pat. You've done a lot to make those people talk to each other, communicate with each other, because we just can't sell a unit and then have the manufacturer forget about the dealer, or have the dealer sell the unit and forget about what the person does with it afterwards. So your ability to document all that information in the North American Campground Report and share that with the industry is just speaks volumes of it.
Right. Well, we're very research driven here, very analytical. We run a lot of research. We analyze all that data we talked about earlier in our discussion, and we really saw a need for more comprehensive information about camping in general. We were running a lot of research on our own campgrounds. We wanted to broaden that, and that's what led to some of our earlier efforts, and then eventually the North American Camping Report. And it was always a no-brainer for us to extend that to the whole industry. I mean, it makes us all better. It makes us all stronger. And the more we understand about people and how they camp or what they're looking for, the more we can all deliver upon that, and it brings more campers out. So it's better for everybody. And I will say, we've been sharing this with the manufacturing side, the dealer side for, several years now, and they're just eating up the data. And I think that's just going to make us all better.
Yeah, there's something in the pictures that Mike sent, and I didn't know that you had moved into. That was one of them, and then, well, there's another one. But talk about your move in that direction too, because a lot of the campgrounds have found that to be a good revenue source, again, with a whole new demographic.
Right. Yes, glamping is all the rage right now. It's more established in Europe, and it's been making its way to the U.S. for several years now. And it's any media outlet you pick up, you're going to see people talking about glamping. It's definitely a trend, but I think it's a trend that has some legs and is going to stay. It's another way we're bringing new people into camping. I view the glampers as very much a hotel guest that is looking for a unique experience outside. They're looking for something, we know millennials and Gen X families are looking for unique experiences, and glamping delivers upon that very well. So yes, we've got about 85 campgrounds that have some form of unique accommodation, and it's everything from these canvas tents like you're seeing to teepees. We have a lot of teepees in the system. We have yurts, we have Conestoga wagons, we have tree houses, and that's only going to grow even further. At corporate right now, we're actually right now working on a build out of a glamping only campground. It'll only have canvas tents and maybe some tree houses. So that's a complete switch for us as an RV primarily.
No RV sites?
They'll have no RV sites. We're working on that right now. And that's a growth for our company as well, thinking of new areas that way. But there's a lot of power in these. They're a lot of fun. They reach a new audience. It's similar to that deluxe cabin about 10 years ago. And we have more and more campgrounds snatching them up. At our big expo we have with our convention every year, this year we've got more vendors than ever coming in to showcase the unique products they have for our campgrounds.
Talk a little bit about that, Toby. I've had the pleasure. I had a client a couple of years ago with a product that we had her exhibit at the expo, and it's just a great event. But there's probably some people out there, or some people that are going to look at this interview and say, I'd really like to sell to KOA, and we're all small business people, and we got a lot of people that serve our industry. How does somebody do business with KOA?
Well, the convention's a great place to start. Every year we have our annual convention in November. We switch cities every year. This year we're in Fort Worth, as you can see on the banner there. And this is bringing together, 800 to 1,000 people. And it's one of the best things I think we do at KOA, and that how we can come together, share learnings, do a lot of education, bring in keynote speakers, and really get people rallied for the year ahead. And part of that is the expo, the night of it's a day and a half, essentially, an evening, and then a full day at the end is our expo. And that's all for vendors to showcase products. We love to have new vendors. Our owners are always looking for new things. And that's everything from accommodation units that we just talked about to arts and crafts that can be put on your campground. To the jumping pillows we talked about earlier. It's a wide range of offerings. And if someone wants to, have a booth space, they need to just get in touch with us. We can connect you in with our resource that runs that and get you scheduled in. But it is a really great place to get access to all of our owners.
So in order to attend, do you have to be an existing owner, or are there people that are considering switching over to a KOA? Are they welcome at this event?
They are. Our system development department invites people to come that they're working with. I think if there's someone that had a strong interest, again, get in touch with us. We can talk it through and get you to the convention. I think it's the best way to really get, filled up with that yellow fever that we've got, and really understand what KOA is all about. And that's the best place to see everybody all at once and get a feel for it.
One of the things that I've noticed in my own travels is
this is what yellow fever looks like.
Yeah, that's the yellow fever. Yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed in my own travels, that when I've been in other non-branded properties, is that most of the owners have come from other occupations. They've bought in their 50s, in their early 60s, that type of thing, and they have no experience in this industry. What is the I don't know if pitch, there's got to be a better word. What is the reason? Mm-hmm. What do you go to these people and say? What would be a reason for them to become a KOA property? Yeah,
you're right. In any given year, we've got quite a few owners this is a new career venture for them. Maybe they retired from a previous career, or maybe they were younger and they've just decided they want to work in a different industry, or maybe their parents had the campground before. Mm-hmm. And I think people join franchises for a lot of reasons, but it's pretty simple at KOA. You're going to get the marketing support. Maybe you don't have a good understanding or money to invest in marketing. And that's what we do. We have technology for you and a wide array of franchise services. We've got people that can design your parks. We can help with staffing with your work campers. We've got a robust training curriculum that you can help train your staff. And plus then all that, collective energy and sharing among your fellow owners. You're not doing this on your own. You're part of a system. You've got 80 people in Billings, Montana to call, and you've got 500 franchisees across North America that you can tap into. I think the networking in the KOA family, sometimes overrides all the services we can provide.
So coming to that event really is beneficial to every existing owner.
Yeah, we don't get every owner every year. We hope that they get to us at least every other year, but there are some that never miss one, and I think that it's such a great time. And plus, just like you were talking in the Northeast, we've got owners association groups that come together twice a year, and 20 groups that are formed across the country. There's lots of ways people can share with each other to make their businesses better.
Yeah, we have a strong group up here in New England. You got a lot of KOAs in New England.
That's right.
And they exhibit every year at our Boston RV show and do that. John, we've done it again. We forgot to say the magic word tonight.
Share, folks. Share. And You know what? If you look at the number of viewers here on any one time, it's really not a lot of people. But through our people that are with us and asking questions, we ask them to share. So then we get up in our several thousand views. And, we'll ask you to share that as well. I had one other question for you, Toby, on the, and I'm losing it as we speak. marketing. I'll think of it. Go ahead, Mike. I'll think of it a little bit later. It was a good one too.
I bet.
Maria's quote. I think Maria is a new. I think we got a lot of new viewers tonight, so we did a lot of promotion that you were going to be joining us. So hopefully we got. Hopefully we got some KOA campgrounds on there too. Did you remember?
Yeah, we let our system know as well. So hopefully we got some owners out there.
Yeah.
I found it.
Learn more about you at the same time.
He's got his memory back, Toby.
Got it back. The question is, and it almost seems to be contradictory, but people say they go camping to get away, and I know that term "reduced stress" was
Right.
used times in the North American Camping Report. Reduced stress, but it seems as though studies show that the biggest feature that people want in a campground is Wi-Fi, internet connection. At the same time, they want to get away from it all, but it appears as though the connectivity issue is certainly winning out over being totally disconnected. How are you addressing that? Because in certain areas, especially the more remote areas, good Wi-Fi is hard to get a hold of.
Very hard. I think it's the biggest challenge facing the campground business right now is how to deliver upon increasing expectations of good Wi-Fi. You know, that the Wi-Fi that can be delivered at a campground can be very different than the Wi-Fi that you have in your house. And sometimes you want that exact same experience, but we're bouncing Wi-Fi off trees and these big metal RV boxes, and it's very, very expensive to get good Wi-Fi. But we've made a concerted effort across our system that all of our campgrounds have Wi-Fi if they can, and they're continually investing in making that better. We take it very seriously. And I think it's the big thing our owners are focused on right now. We definitely have a lot of discussion about it, and I know that they're always trying to make it better. I just saw today the announcement that a new Airstream coming out has Wi-Fi built into the unit, and I think we'll start to see a lot more of that as well. I know you can get Wi-Fi in your cars now. My new SUV has one, and I know you can get it in some RVs, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that because people really don't want to disconnect. As the research shows, most people, 90+%, are bringing some form of device with them when they camp.
90%.
But what the research showed this time, for the first time, was interesting is that they view it as a utility, is the way I look at it. They have to have it. I have to have my Apple Watch on. I have to have my phone with me. But at the same time, they don't want to be distracted by it. So it's there when they need it. They can touch in with email, keep up with things going on at work, but they don't want it to overtake their experience. So it's a utility. It's less of an amenity now. And I think if campgrounds start thinking about Wi-Fi as a utility, that totally changes our thinking. This is no longer, a feature of your campground. This is just like having sewer, you've got Wi-Fi, because that's how people view technology. It's a part of their daily lives.
Well, I know that. When Greg Gerber was on the road, his biggest frustration, Greg was on the road for 2-3 years, his biggest frustration was poor Wi-Fi, and he had to have it because he was working on the road, and at 4 o'clock he had to hit a button to send all those RV reports out, and he said it was my biggest reason for being frustrated with that aspect of the life.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, even I've been on parks that have invested a lot of money, and I'm still having trouble connecting. I think the hotspot model also works really well if you can get a couple good spots on your campground that people have that they can rely on. Some campgrounds are doing it really, really well, and there's a lot of good vendors out there that are helping solve this issue.
Especially those people that are traveling full-time and running a business out of their RV.
Right. And there seems to be more and more of that all the time. A lot of people on the road, working out of their RVs, whether they work in the RV industry or elsewhere, they're on the road. Yeah, I had a political candidate in the office last week, doing some campaigning, and she's on the road in an RV staying at campgrounds. I think there's just a lot of people that are living their lives on campgrounds, and that's why it becomes even more of a utility.
Well, one of the things that I think you started to allude to it in your report, you mentioned that campers are significantly more likely to say that the use of technology detracts from the overall enjoyment of their camping experience. 38% in 2016 and 49% in 2017. I think that number is going to continue to go up. Yeah, it is a utility and it's fancy. My fear for the campground industry, because it is a significant investment and consumers are demanding it, that with all the portable hotspots, we can work off our phones now. We can work off our cars. That you see this spike in terms of the amount of money that you have to spend for it. But I think the usage is going to go down, because when I go to campgrounds, I use my phone. I don't care if campground has, that it's the same thing I do half the time when I go to hotels now. Hotels they have the same problem. Yeah. I'm more likely in a hotel to set up the hotspot on my phone. So I think there's a big investment there that may depreciate really quickly. And Mr. Gast, who is behind the scenes there tonight, and thanks Mike for everything you did, he brings up a good point. I was looking at this just the other night. The digital copy of the North American Camping Report is at the KOA press room site, and also the KOA directory is online. And like you say, Toby, I mean, it's so easy to use and to work with that. But that North American Camping Report is fantastic. We're coming up to 55 minutes already. We're probably going to wrap this at about 60. This happens every week because we have such great guests. I want to put something else up that I think is, again, you guys do so much so well, but this is something that is really special for a lot of us. Talk about that. Right.
So what we're looking at here is the KOA Care Camps logo. And this is a wonderful organization that actually this movement was started by KOA owners many years ago that have a collective movement to raise money that donates to cancer camps across the country. So there's cancer camps where kids that have cancer can come to camp, and forget about being sick. Of course, it's staffed with, medical staff and all of the medications and everything they would need, but they get to come be a kid and be outside. And KOA Care Camps raises money all year round, and a lot of things happening on the campground. We do things at a corporate level, and they've got great spokespeople and partnerships with other organizations, such as Dometic is one of their newest partners, that funnel money towards KOA Care Camps, and again, helping kids go to camp, which is so touching and such an important thing that we can do.
And you're just, it's everybody in the organization lives it, because the year that I did attend the expo, you do a silent auction and a live auction. And if I'm not mistaken, from your own people, from your own campground owners, they raised something like $1 million that night, and they present these gigantic checks for that. And it's just a great, worthwhile venture, and I'm sure it's inbred with everybody at KOA.
Yeah, you're right. At the end of our convention every night's a live auction. That's all for care camps. We always get some nice big ticket items and raise money. That $1 million you're referring to is probably the collective efforts for the year. We don't bring in that much that night, but a significant amount of money that contributes to that $1 million+ that's raised every year for care camps. But the auction's a great thing, and a lot of campgrounds replicate that on their own parks throughout the year. Lots of different ways to raise money.
That's fantastic. Toby, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. It seems like the hours always pass by quickly, but we've got so many great people in the RV industry and the outdoor hospitality industry. And by the way, you are the first person from the outdoor hospitality business.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's because we went right to the top.
Right. John, any closing remarks tonight?
No, I just think it's always interesting to see the different aspects of the RV industry getting together, and really looking forward to a sense of cooperation, because they realize that it's like a four-legged stool. You've got the manufacturers, the retailers, the campground owners, and the service people. One can't really survive without the other. And,
absolutely. You're right.
All right, Toby, I'll give you the last word, seeing that you were nice enough to join us tonight.
Well, I think your magic word was share, so I'll just follow up on what you've got on the screen there. But no, I've enjoyed being here. This has been great. I love having the conversation about our business and how we can continue to take it forward, and I love connecting with the campers that have logged on. So thank you very much for having KOA visit with you tonight.
Right, we get the stamp of approval from Mark and Don, so I guess we did well. Yeah. All right, everybody, we will see you next week. Please share it with your friends. And Toby, thanks again. And John, thank you. And Mike Gast, thank you. Mike is the VP of Communications over there and does a fantastic job with all of us guys in the media. And we really appreciate working with him and all the work that he does to make our lives a lot easier.
Yeah, me too. Appreciate it greatly.
Thank you, Toby.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Have a great day, everybody.